Put it together for SFPD Sergeant Adam Plantinga. Come on. Hello, sir. Look at you.
I just like to give props for use of the word po-po. I like to see that back in fashion.
It was wild that you said po-po, Kim. That's
good stuff.
Yeah. You know, you're amazing reading about what you've done. Where do you come up with, this is, nonfiction books and the world of crime and intrigue and thrillers woven into a background that you have. Your new book is called The Ascent. And it's taken off, this book, and I'm just looking at some of the aspects of it. It's one of those, it's a thriller. I guess it kind of feels like one of those, who's the guy who has a special set of skills, Kim? The guy who, Adam, who's the guy? Who? What? Who?
Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson. It feels like a Liam Neeson type adrenaline ride. You know what I mean, Adam? Speak to me. How did you?
That's high praise.
I think, but I mean, really, that's my sense of it. Tell me how you got into this world from being an SFPD sergeant.
Yeah, so I've always I've been a big fan of thrillers and detective fiction. Growing up, I mean, guys like George Pelecanos and early Robert B. Parker, Robert Crace, Harlan Coben, Lee Child. I mean, those are sort of the masters. So I've always liked that genre. And I've always been fascinated about stories about tough guys. And I wrote 2 nonfiction books about police work, but I felt like I had sort of said everything I wanted to say about law enforcement, but I still had the Jones for writing. So I thought I'd write a book, and my understanding is with a novel, you can just, you can just make it up. So that's what I did.
Well, but the thing about being a novelist and writing about what you know, in this case, law enforcement, is that it's informed by reality. And so it feels even more intense because it's not a sort of fanciful ride. It's, wow, this is the real thing. And this takes place around a Detroit cop, as I'm right. This is a Detroit cop who sort of feels as though he can't let an injustice stand.
Yeah, I grew up in Michigan, so I've always been a Michigan guy. Followed Detroit sports teams, so
congratulations then, to the Lions.
Thank you very much. It's been a good month for us. We may never see this again. But I loved having a Michigan backdrop and a few shout outs to the hometown folks. So, and I just figured it'd be a little bit of a departure. I didn't want to make it a San Francisco cop. I thought it'd be sort of too close to life. So,
yeah, I mean, so this guy, though, this cop in the center of your story, he's got some fighting skills, right? I mean, he's more than just a beat cop or a cop that never leaves a squad car.
Yeah, he gets out there. He's a former SWAT cop. He is very accomplished at fighting. He'd be the first to say he's not much of an investigator. So although there is some investigating to do in this book, he more sort of blunders his way through. I mean, there's so many detectives out there already in popular fiction. I wanted to kind of go a different route and just make him sort of straight from the street and just survive on, good instincts and the fact that he's really good at punching people.
Well, I mean, it's funny you say that because those guys do attract me also in choosing what genre. I mean, Reacher would be like an extreme example, I suppose, but these guys who are trying to right a wrong, but sometimes they can't work completely within the boundaries of just the law and the courts, and their investigations take them into some pretty nasty places. So you have to have skills, and your guy does have those skills.
Yeah, sort of the knight errant, kind of the wandering do-gooder.
Yeah.
But one of the things I did want to do with the book is, although he's, for lack of a better word, good at violence, I also wanted him to be able to use some of his softer skills. So he does some hostage negotiation in there. He does some talking to mentally disturbed people. There's a whole sort of bag of tricks that he's able to draw from, not just hitting everyone he meets. I thought that would get kind of old, kind of fast.
Why, it's almost as if he has a little flavor of San Francisco. Look at that. You know what I wanted to celebrate about what is going on for you lately is your book made this page. This is the People magazine page of the best new books. And there it is, The Ascent, bottom right, in the People magazine hot books page. That's pretty cool.
Look at you, dude. Look at you.
You have to kind of squint to see it, but I think I officially made People magazine. And hey, I'll take it.
Look, maybe next year the cover, but right now let's get into the magazine. Nice job.
Well, the thing I liked is Kate Middleton is on the cover. So my joke was that Kate and I collaborated on the issue, and that later we'd release a joint statement thanking everyone for their patronage of the arts.
Okay. The Ascent is a jaw-dropping, authentic, and absolutely gripping ride. Harlan Coben said this. He's the #1 New York Times bestselling author of I Will Find You. Your debut thriller being, listen to this, Lou Berney, who's the Edgar Award-winning author of November Road, says The Ascent is a nail-biting ride out of hell itself. Wow. It's Dante's Inferno, but with gangs, corruption, bone-breaking brawls, and a kick-ass, determined police officer struggling through it all to save another. Come on. It's got to be wild. You're really being heralded in all these exciting ways. Congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that. People like Harlan Coben, Lou Berney, those some of my writing heroes. So the fact that they took the time to check out the book and say some nice things. I think the writing community as a whole is a very generous one. So I've been very grateful for that.
Well, you're beautifully humble, but Kim and I talk a lot about San Francisco crime and crime in the Bay Area, and you've been a witness to it for a while now. And when you're not writing these great sort of thrill ride books, you witness a lot, and you've seen the city change, I presume. How long have you been with SFPD?
I've been with SFPD for about 15 years. Prior to that, I was a city of Milwaukee police officer. So
when you see the changes in San Francisco, and I don't want you to, I'm not trying to nail you down on anything. I'm just kind of your general thoughts, because a lot of us just feel like, wow, it's really a bummer. I don't know, I have to worry about where I park my car all the time. It almost doesn't matter where I park my car anyway, because there's just a sense of, honestly, a lack of safety and a lawlessness that's now tolerated in ways that really transcend, to be perfectly honest, I think, the cops. We ask the cops to do a lot of work, but the reality is the cops are limited too. So just your sense of how the city's changing.
Yeah, I think one of the uphill battles we're fighting as of late is we are hundreds of cops short, which is, that's not a problem unique to San Francisco. A lot of other cities are experiencing that too. It's just a profession that, especially in the last couple of years, maybe because it's become more high profile or because there's better jobs out there available, people just aren't signing up as much as they used to. So, on my day-to-day basis, I feel that keenly. We just don't have quite enough cops to do everything we want to do. But over and beyond that,
can you give me an example of that? I'm sorry, because clearly you're right. I read about that. Give me an example when you say I feel it and we see it on a day-to-day basis. Like how? Like you can't get a group of guys to go work that division because there are no group of guys to do it? Guys generically, men and women?
Yeah, if you just take my own district as an example, I work at Mission Station. We have 6 sector cars, and there was a time when we could have all those sectors filled, plus a street crimes unit, plus a 2-person footbeat, plus a plainclothes car. And now if we can fill 4 of the 6 sectors, we feel like we're on top of things.
Wow.
So I think it's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for the folks that we serve because it takes us longer to get to their calls than it should. I mean, I work with a lot of great people. They're doing the best they can under the circumstances. But hey, if you know anyone that wants to be a cop, send them our way. We could use them.
I always talk about the fact like I'd flood the tourist areas with cops, and essentially what you're saying is you can't. Yeah, no kidding. We don't have the cops to flood, so that leaves us in a really tough position. That's happening with law enforcement, as you say, nationwide. That's because law enforcement is now viewed as a more problematic life for those who are in it.
I mean, I think there's been additional scrutiny of late. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, sometimes we're our own worst enemy. Um, but I think people look at the job and say, do I want to do this? Do I want to be on the news? Even if I acted in good faith, but stepped wrongly, do I want to get, risk being fired, risk being sued? Um, I mean, I think people are just looking in different directions.
Kim, did you have something? Sorry, I was. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask a question about, and not necessarily city related, but how you've done work helping other authors kind of bring authenticity to their crime novels or their, their thrillers. And so just how it felt to jump, and I know you've written other books, but they've been, different. How it felt to do that for yourself.
Yeah, that was, I got to say, that was kind of an unintended benefit of writing my first book, which is called 400 Things Cops Know. That crime authors had nice things to say about it, and they said that it helped them sort of write an authentic crime novel. And I thought, well, that's awesome. Anything I can do. I have had people, reach out to me, authors, to run certain passages past me for sort of verisimilitude, which has been fun. But yeah, that's a fun gang to get up with, and anything I can do to help, I'm all in because they've helped me.
Verisimilitude's a ding word.
Oh, what is that? Does that mean
done.
I said something smart?
Yes, exactly. That's
Did it come off as too smart? I don't want to be.
I thought, no, I think in this,
wanna...
you're a writer and you have command of the English language, and that is impressive, sir. And it was the right word. Like sometimes when somebody reaches too much, you go, dude, you didn't have to say that, but you needed that word for the point you were making.
Well, I don't want your audience to think I'm a fancy pants. Well, all right.
The audience loves you. There's the cover of your book, The Ascent. Now, when you're trying to find as a writer and creator, and here you go, Angel in the Bay Area is saying this. I just want you to see this, then I'll give you my question. Thanks for coming on. Looking forward to the book, and thank you for your service in these times especially. Mm-hmm. That's kind of very nice. Yeah. The question I had was, when you're writing and creating, you have to come up with this taut problem for your lead character to be involved in trying to solve, or a wrong, in this case, a wrong, trying to right it. Where does that come from? Do you jot this stuff down every day? As you say, there's underpinning everything in your books. There's this truth, right? And this is your first novel, but I'm just saying, the other books were about what happens on the beat. But speak to me about how you come up with that germ of the idea. Does it come from a list of 5 ideas you have and then you settle on one, or what is the process?
I guess I've always been, the Ascent is set in a state prison where there's a massive security breakdown and everything goes awry. And I've always been fascinated by stories where sort of a group of people have to band together and go from point A to point B over sort of treacherous ground. But in terms of trying to write kind of a streamlined narrative that keeps the reader engaged, I just try to kind of leave out all the stuff that tends to bore me a little when I'm reading a book, sort of long exchanges between characters, or a whole page describing the natural backdrop of some place or weather. I just kind of cut that out. And then I have a smart agent and a smart editor who went to work on making it better. I mean, it's my book, but nobody does this stuff alone. I've had a lot of help.
God, you're so humble. It's incredible.
It's easy to be humble. You should ask my wife. She would.
Let me ask you a question about police work while I've got you here. Just there's this and it might be just a trope that I see in other books or even movies and television series. The cop who can't leave the job. He brings it home with him, and
Right.
and I can see where you've seen a lot. You do see a lot. You're called upon to sort of be society's janitor, cleaning up all the problems, and how it might literally be hard to leave all that stuff behind. To all of a sudden go, honey, yeah, I leave it all behind. How much of that world where the cop who can't leave it behind is real?
I think some of that is real, and I would say probably folks that are in investigations, that applies to maybe more because they have a desk full of cases that they have to work on when they get back to the office, and I think it's hard to sort of turn that off. Especially homicide investigators. I mean, they live and breathe that stuff. But I think there's a certain art or skill to being able to separate your home life and your work life. I mean, you got to have some separation there, otherwise, it's unhealthy. I mean, I think it's healthy to have friends who are outside the police world, other hobbies. I play pickleball, which is maybe the opposite of inner city police work. So everyone does something different.
That's great. That's great. The pickleball courts have been the scene of a couple of dust-ups that could have gotten ugly, I think.
Well, there's some intense rivalry between the tennis crew and the pickleball gang. Sometimes they have at it.
It's true. The tennis zealots view pickleball as some sort of bizarre genetic perversion of the purity of tennis.
See, now that little bell should have gone off when you said bizarre genetic perversion. That was.
You're right. Thank you. Please, thank you. There
All right. Sorry, I don't even work for this show. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, now you're getting hip to the ding words. I like it.
All right.
But it is true that that pickleball world is informed by that. So you're taking this great ride with the Ascent. I don't know if you've been able to see but maybe you go back, or your agent will go back and see all the people who are saying they're planning on buying the book, getting the book. Seems like a lot of fun. Well, your next book, John is asking, have a murder on the pickleball court.
Ooh, there's a thread to pull on.
Wow. I might suggest passing over that thread.
Pickleball murder. There's some rich material there, I think.
Yeah. Zealots is a ding word, says Tom. All right. Yeah. We have one listener viewer who is sort of the keeper of the ding words who registers that. So listen, Adam, congratulations. This is just, it's, as I say, it's a book that's being lauded is a ding word, that really, it seems, has gotten a lot of great attention. And congratulations on your first novel. And it sounds to me like you're going to be one of those guys who writes more and is praised even more. I really thank you for spending some time with us today.
Well, thank you so much to both of you for having me on. This was great.
The Ascent. Adam Plantinga, see you, buddy. Thank you. Come visit again. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.